What's up, Reflections? Thank you for tuning in. This is Moon Theory, a channel about identity in the digital age. And if this is your first time tuning into Moon Theory or the moon lensing, it's really just a way of integrating and summarizing my integral theory, or Rocco's integral theory, which is really just about an organizing idea. And the organizing idea is that everything is a moon. Everything is a moon for the light that which you are in your truest identity. And then there's a journey on the way to that. So this video is about it's about the journey to that. It's about the journey towards that, which we'll call like our liberation, or our moksha, or our final, our final chapter checkpoint in this lifetime, which, it's not really up to us to decide, at least not right now. If you're watching this and you're resonating with me at this frequency, then we're here talking about the journey to that and how we spend our life, and how FOMO has become like this actual virus that has infected how we process life itself. And it comes from the reptilian brainstem at the back of us that is connected to this fight or flight response mechanism. And yet we're not hunter-gatherers anymore. We're in this evolved society where digital pixelization, pixels encoded with sound and color, are reflecting back to us various aspects of what the human experience can be. And so this particular video is about the difference between hell FOMO versus heaven FOMO. And I'm finding that, and so just some personal context, I've been a seeker, or at least someone who's identified with the term seeker, since I was like 20, and I'm 27 now. It's 2018, and today's March 7th, 2018, and yeah, so that's a term, it's a label to identify with, or to summarize that which you are, a seeker. Seeking what? The idea is that you're seeking truth. I'm a seeker. Kind of like, the Quidditch player. The seeker's the one who seeks the golden snitch that ends the game. And everything else is pretty much just noise around that. And so that's who I am. And if you're recognizing a similar component in who you are, then namaste. And so I've been using all types of different tools during my path of seeking, whether it's reading about some like books that didn't get included in the traditional King James Bible, and ancient aliens, and various forms of esoteric occultism, which is really just about hidden stuff from the masses, hidden stuff from the mass of the general population. Books like The Alchemist stood out to me. People like Manly Palmer Hall stood out to me. Madame Blavatsky, Secret Teaching of All Ages. The Land of Kemet and the Teachings of Thoth, Hermes Trismegistus, or Thoth. Currently diving into this stuff about how the Mayan calendar just measured time in a completely different way, in Tehuti and Quetzalcoatl, and long story short, tons of different reference points, right, along the journey. And so you gotta find what you resonate with. Teachers, speakers, sharers of wisdom, people who are something on the camera. People who are on the path of alchemizing their own experience, and so they gotta share what they learn. That's kind of that's part of the deal. You got someone like Abraham Hicks. Esther is transmuting, she's alchemizing in her own way. Someone like Alan Watts, he transmutes and he alchemizes in his own way. You're watching Rocco transmute and alchemize in his own way. And so I'm serving you. I serve you, that which you are, in your highest extent or component, highest aspect, that is wanting to remember itself, that is wanting to remember its truest nature. Like it's like you got disconnected from it, and now you're like, I want to reconnect to it. And you're following the breadcrumbs along the way of reconnecting to that. Saying all that to say, one of the tools I've been using is A Course in Miracles. And I also have a daily yoga sadhana that, you know, just as context, it's totally a different thinking modality than something like A Course in Miracles, which the context that I have on it is it basically came through some lady in like the 70s, an American lady in the like 70s or something like that, and it's basically teachings of J-Man or Jesus or Yahushua, but from a totally different modern perspective. And this course has these daily lessons, and it basically helps you just empty the programmings of false hell matrix, basically, and reprogram with kind of Eckhart Tolle New Earth paradigm sequencing sentences and techniques, really mantras. Every day they give you a mantra, and they pave neural pathways in a new way. And so this idea, I'm actually on this chapter right now, I think it's lesson 137, and it basically says heaven is really our only choice. And we're gonna stick to moon theory stuff today. We're not gonna go into a dissertation about Course in Miracles. That's another thing. But as it applies to moon theory, it points at what I've been guided to speak on specifically, which is FOMO. And so I'm going to continue to unpack it because it's pretty dense, but you'll have to watch more videos. This isn't going to be the video I do it all the way. But I'm going to continue expanding on that which I've come to understand and I've seen and heard referenced before, and now I'm referencing it as the Luciferian doctrine. And, you know, the story of Job is basically like, you know, God is waging this bet with the devil. He's like, you can't corrupt him. Or the devil, Satan, is like, I can corrupt him, trust me. And God's like, no, he's a good dude. You can't corrupt him. He's uncorruptible. His name is Job. And so, boom, sent flurries of corruption-esque tactics from the lower realm. We'll just say the lower realm. And so we're here in the Matrix. It's 2018. If you live on social media or you spend any time of your day on social media, you're seeing what? You're seeing reference points of what? Humans living their lives. And it informs you as to how you can live your life. And in a nutshell, it informs you what you're missing out on. It also can inform you of what you're connecting on or what you're doing. And connecting with people in a very direct way can be super healing, can give sense of community, you know, there's a lot of positives to it, but there are also some cons. And today we're just going to refer to the dynamic of this modern American pop culture system spewing out these artists who basically pointed themselves as Lucifer incarnate. And how do they do that? It's some reference in a nutshell, but it's this reference to themselves as the creator of their own experience and God of their own experience, and sexually worshipped and seeking power, angry in some kind of way, asserting testosterone or masculine dominance. Even if it is a female, it's the feminine energy is like warped and turned into this and so it's like Shakti that's like confused, which Shakti is just the feminine component of the universal energy that incorporates all of creation. And the feminine and I'm not like Shakti is a Sanskrit word, but, and I don't even want to get too much stuck on that, but it's I'm just referencing right here how and so the word Illuminati comes up. It has to come up. It has to come up. I'm sorry, it has to come up. Because it's a word that's a reference point that and we're talking about pop culture right now. We're talking about pop culture. We're talking about, yeah, I tune into hip-hop. You may not tune into hip-hop as much as I do, but I tune into it as a culture. And maybe you watch the Oscars that happened recently. Maybe you watch certain sports events that happened recently. Maybe you're walking on the grid and you're fully in New Earth and you don't abide by any of that. Congratulations. Maybe you tune into Whole Food posts on their Instagram or some other, you know. Right now, I think the most important thing to reference is you tune into some type of culture through digital terminals. There is the potential for you to feel like you are missing out on what you are seeing in the digital terminal that you are accessing the internet or society through the internet. Basically, I'm talking about the internet. And so this Course in Miracle lesson and how it reflects to this topic that I'm speaking on right now is that everything is a mirror or a moon for who you are and specifically where you are in your life right now. And so moon tech is really just a series of techniques for self-awareness while using the digital world and being like, is this making me feel good or is this making me feel not so good? Which that's a binary categorization of it, but it's really a spectrum, and the spectrum to the left goes descending and the spectrum to the right goes ascending. It's really about recognizing whether or not you're on an ascending or descending spiral of how you feel, your psychological, spiritual, emotional, mental, overall well-being forecast. And so whether it's Hollywood, whether it's a car company sending you updates in your email, if you're in society, chances are you're getting interfaced. You're interfacing with the Matrix in some kind of way. In the Matrix, there are these beings that, as of right now, I'm calling them Lucifer's henchmen. And they embody these archetypes of pretty much just lower, it's our lower nature, it's our lower animalistic nature. And it usually has something to do with sex or power or worldly human identity dynamics. And they basically get you to, they're triggering you by, and so let's just use a quick example. Drake, who, you know, if you've been listening to Drake, there was a clear moment where all of a sudden you started hearing him call himself Six God, and this ad-lib was inserted into his music that goes, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. And so any use of certain symbolism, it's an activation on our archetypes. And he uses the term 666, you know, let's not even talk about whether he's the one doing this or not. I've seen some visions in dream states and in astral states and in my work with DMT regarding how the pop culture social network has been grafted and certain people are playing certain roles, almost like guardians to gates. But then some guardians aren't necessarily for good, and so they're kind of like trolls. You know, like that story about like the troll who guarded the bridge? Yeah, people are basically like that. And once they get into their placement, almost like a chess on a chess piece. Specifically the chess piece is from the Harry Potter, I think it's Sorcerer's Stone. Or no, because they're in the Chamber of Secrets. Yeah, so it's Chamber of Secrets. And they play this chess game, and it's like actual full humans, like life-size chess pieces, and they can actually kill you. Like, and you get checked off of the board, like, you know, the rook actually kills you, or the knight takes out a sword and kills you. And so to me, that's how I see the reptilian, if you looked at the work of David Icke, he's got a lot to say about this, but this is my lens on it. This is a moon theory lens on it. And so there's these henchmen that are taking up vibrational equity, vibrational space and time, and they are acting as like magnets, or they themselves are black holes. And so yeah, any use of you know, an upside down cross or 666, it's just pointing at carbon worship. That's my nutshell of breaking it down right now. It's asking you, it's implying for you to worship your carbon and to denounce your light, basically. That's what the anti-Christ is. It's the pro-carbon, anti-light, the anti-crystal you, and the pro-carbon you. Which is interesting because it's kind of a paradox, because your carbon, your crystal is kind of carbon. We'll get back to that later. But they're folks that, you know, ego as a sheath has become wounded by traumas and now is wanting to repair itself in a crazy way. In a way of saying like, oh, well, if I return that pain, you know, like hurt people hurt other people. Well, hurt people is the, you know, the adage. And so there are these folks out there that are basically looking for retribution or revenge. I can think of actually a couple brands that have the word revenge in them, and their lives become like that. And it's such a wild web of like the reason of why, and like karmic lineage and like karmic archetypes, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes into it. But sticking to what this video is telling me that it wants to be about is, you can really, as a human being, as a colorful reflection of the one in a body, on your path of alchemizing your low experience to your highest experience, you can recognize a fork in the road of whether you're being caused in any given moment by watching this video, by getting on Instagram for a second, by seeing an ad or a billboard, or talking to your parents. So many different things can trigger us into this fork in the road. But the fork in the road is this. Is this causing me FOMO for hell? Or is this causing me FOMO for heaven? Personal experience share. I just got this download that I just needed to fast. And I immediately had this little bit of anxiety of like, oh, I'm about to go hang out with those friends and those people, and I saw the people in my mind. I was like, oh, but I'm gonna want to eat with them. And I got basically sad. There's this lower emotional, it's really more like, the emotion as I understand it to be is basically fear. And it's the fear of missing out. It's the fear of belonging in a very modern kind of glitchy way that has to do with our need to be satiated in experiencing things with others. And so I had that reflection, and specifically on today, where this Course in Miracles, you know, the actual lesson today is about making that conscious choice to not choose hell, basically, and not choose from ego. And like, oh, I have bills coming up, and how am I gonna pay this bill? I'm not where I want to be in my life. It's like, there's things I need to do that aren't here yet. And like, it's just all stress, it's all anxiety, and none of it's real. None of it's now. It's all concerned about the future. Oh, I didn't do this thing properly. It's all about the past. It's not real, bro. And I'm making this video as part of my own transmutation and own healing and own reminding of self that this is true. And so yeah, the ask that came through me was, are you worried about missing out on hell or on heaven? And I was like, wow, heaven is asking me to fast, which heaven is a dimension within you. Hell is a dimension within you. And that was the reflection. Am I concerned about missing out on hell, which, let's say it's satiating my pleasure for food and yummy food at that, and almost just a straight up fear of like, oh, well, what if I get hungry? That's like a modern it's a modern program that I inherited from my parents, and I'm recognizing it and I'm deprogramming it from my operating system. But it's there, and you know, I've recognized it has held me back, and I recognize it in the now when it comes up as still holding me back. From what? From experiencing my higher nature, aspects of my highest nature, in a nutshell. And so that's that fork in the road. Am I, in this moment, in this intersection, it's a self-inquiry, it's a self-reflection. That's what moon is. It's a self-reflection, a self-moon. Moon yourself. Be a mirror for yourself in the moment. Take the moment, seize the moment, and put a mirror there and allow it to reflect back to you. What are you doing? What's going on? Are you about to become unconscious and stoop back into some old pattern of like self-sabotage? Or can you be present? Can you be here with this? Is there suffering? Are you scared? Are you worried about what's gonna happen? And so recognizing that fear, that's hell. That's the egoic mind in this flurry of concern and fear, which it's part of where we're at. It's part of where we're at, bro. And that's why I'm grateful that it was part of my sincere and genuine ask of the all. I said, give me a private experience with the divine. Give me a private experience of undeniable first-hand experience with that which is the truth. This was my prayer that I emanated as a signal out for several years, and it kept coming back as moon. And I was like, what do you mean moon? What is moon? What does this have to do missing out on nothing? Oh, so like be present, be in the moment. And I had found Buddhism around that time, so I was interfacing it with that which I connected Buddhism to be. I was like, oh no, I disappear. Oh, I need to disappear. How do I disappear? I'm gonna meditate. I'm still here. How do I disappear? And then I find yoga. Oh, samadhi. I want samadhi. Oh, moon is this way of like setting up mirrors so that... And so it's still processing through me about what it is depending on where I'm at. But in the nutshell and how it applies to this moment to serve that which is in you and I both, which is our higher capacity to be free from suffering that takes the experience of time to get into, to move into, to move further into experiencing it. And so this video is about recognizing that fork in the road, which is a self-reflection. And that self-reflection is, am I in this fearing missing out on hell? Or am I fearing missing out on heaven? And if you recognize that you're fearing missing out on heaven, you'll probably make the easiest choice. It'll probably be the path of least resistance. It'll probably be the path of, it may be scary or it may make you feel vulnerable, but it's probably gonna be the path of least resistance, and that allows you to feel your highest amount of well-being as possible. Which today for me manifested as this little, I've been making these smoothie bowls lately, and I've been putting a lot of granola in there. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been making smoothie bowls, and I've been putting 3 different types of granola in them. So it's like there's a level of like, oh, this is healthy, this is clean. That's probably also maybe a little bit more granola than you need. And so there was for me this recognition that I would be served by not eating at least a meal, skip a meal, maybe eat, extend my fast to like 20 hours as opposed to 12 hours from last night, to instead of eating, at lunch. Well, I did have something earlier, but it's basically a recognition of like extend the period of time extend the period of time before you eat again is basically the nod, is the download. And then the download that comes after that says, ooh, but I'm afraid about, or I want a thing that that contradicts that, or that conflicts with that, and yet you feel that download. The download saying, don't do that. And then you say, oh, but I want to do that. And now you're in conflict. Now the mind is starting to like go crazy and go back and forth about the conversation of what you're gonna do. And now we're talking about a conversation that I had personally, but reflects back to all of us listening to this. A fork in the road that we all get into often. A this or that. Very simple, this or that. Fork in the road. And so heaven is you in spirit. Heaven is you in Christ, your crystalline Krishna consciousness realized and brought down into the physical, into your heart, into your third eye in your heart, and into your third eye in your ajna, and in this fully integrated way of your light, the light that you are, the sound and color that you are. These signals that are coming in and going into your nervous system and then communicating to your brain that things are happening, and yet all of it's inside. Even me looking at my phone while I'm driving in Los Angeles during this kind of cloudy, sunny day, it's all just signals going into my nervous system and into my brain telling me that these things are happening, and then I'm consciousness perceiving that that's happening. And yet we have these moments where we're so caught up in being human and we can't choose between paper or plastic. Sometimes it's a little more complicated than paper and plastic. But, so, in this moment, I hope I've provided you some, I hope I've shared my experience and shed some light on that which may be your experience in a similar way, and hope that there has been value received by you in listening to this, which is a recognition that sometimes we get in this fork in the road and we fear missing out on things that are actually not even serving us. We're fearing missing out on BS. We're fearing missing out on a party that's probably gonna be whack anyway. We're fearing missing out on a thing that's is really just serving our weakness. It's like fearing missing out sleeping in. It's like fearing missing out, which now, you know, now you get into that. It's like sometimes those are the, I had a day recently like that, and you choose them, you choose sleeping in, or you choose the extra rest. But it's about how you label it. It's about how you frame it. It's about what the mirror of the truth reflects back to you that it is for you. You can't take somebody else's truth that they learn from their experience and just copy and paste it onto your life. Rocco is sharing this experience, and there's truth in his experience, and it may reflect back to you aspects of your own experience. But you can't copy and paste truth. It comes from within. And yet we are all like moons, reflecting back to each other this center light, this all-pervading oneness, unity light that's in your eyes and it's in my eyes. And yet it's not the eyeball, but you can see it in there. And I can see it in here. And I can hear you listening. I can hear the light refracting. And we're all remembering. And so, yeah, don't miss out on heaven because hell sounds poppin'. In a nutshell. Namaste Reflection. Thanks for tuning in. Tune in more soon. Share this video if it resonated to you on a vibrational level that you feel like somebody in your life may benefit from gaining more context as to what FOMO is. Much love. Vibes.